Hey y'all, today we're going to make our own homemade gym chalk, magnesium carbonate. You're going to need Epsom salts and baking soda. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our baking soda. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, but we want sodium carbonate for this recipe. So we're going to take our baking soda and we're going to bake it. I'm going to take about a quarter cup of this sodium bicarbonate baking soda. I'm going to spread it out on a little baking pan, a cookie sheet, whatever you have, just like this. And we're going to bake it in the oven at 450 degrees for about an hour or so, depending on how much you use. While that's baking, we're going to go ahead and set up the rest of our experiment. You're going to need 4 jars, somewhere in the 16 to 20 ounce range or so is good, measuring cup, measuring spoons, and some water. The first thing I'm going to do, my first 2 jars are each going to contain about 2 tablespoons, which is about 33 to 35 grams of magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salts. The next thing you're going to do is add 250 milliliters of water to each of these cups. That's a little bit more than 1 cup of water. And you're going to stir really, really well. It can take quite a while for Epsom salts to dissolve in the water, so just be patient and stir really well. While the magnesium sulfate is dissolving, add about 1 teaspoon or 8 grams of sodium bicarbonate, the baking soda, to jar number 3. Again, add your 250 mils of water and stir really well. Make sure that when you're stirring your jars, that you wash your stirring utensil well after going from magnesium sulfate to sodium bicarbonate. Here you can see my Epsom salts are not dissolved all the way, so I need to keep stirring. My sodium bicarbonate has dissolved really well and the water is looking really clear. You want all of your jars to be clear. Okay, so it's been 1 hour and my sodium bicarbonate is now sodium carbonate. I'm going to let it cool a little bit and then I'm going to place it into a jar so we can easily use it for this experiment and other experiments. Sodium carbonate is a great laundry additive. So now we're going to take about 1 tablespoon of our sodium carbonate and add it to our last jar, jar number 4. You can save the rest of this for other experiments and for laundry. Add 250 mils of water. And stir jar 4 really well until it's fully dissolved. You can see how cloudy the water is at first. Just stick with it and keep stirring until it's clear. So now we have all 4 of our jars. Jar 1, magnesium sulfate. Jar 2, also magnesium sulfate. Jar 3, sodium bicarbonate. And jar 4, sodium carbonate. We want to put jar 3 into jar 1 and jar 4 into jar 2. You can see when I mix sodium bicarbonate into magnesium sulfate, you don't really see anything. It's just two clear liquids that make a clear liquid. But when we mix sodium carbonate in with magnesium sulfate, you get this white, kind of chunky looking precipitate in the liquid. They look very different, don't they? So how do we get nice fluffy white chalk out of this liquidy mixture? First, you're going to need an empty jar and a funnel, and then something to catch the precipitate. I like to use coffee filters. You can also use parchment paper. You're going to pour the contents into the funnel. The solid is going to catch in the funnel, and the clear liquid will drain through into the jar. This takes a little while. You've got to be pretty patient with it. This process can take a while, so I decided to try and make it go a little faster, and I did 3 jars with 3 funnels and 3 coffee filters to see if I could make the process go a little quicker, because it was already, I think, about 1 a.m. when I was doing this. So here are my 3 filtering jars. I'm just pouring the last of my mixture in, and I'm going to let it sit for probably about a half an hour or so. When the liquid is all run through, I'm going to do a water wash. So I'm just going to take regular clean water and kind of rinse out the solid. So here is what we have after the liquid has all run through. I'm going to spread it out on some paper towels and let it air dry. Since I knew I would be reforming this into a mold, I didn't let it dry completely. It's sort of a paste right now. So I added a little bit more water, put it in a mold, and put it in the dehydrator. I also made a larger batch and put that in a mold as well. Here are our results. Enjoy! I added rosin to this chalk mix, and that helps it stick better. I hope you all enjoyed this little video tutorial. I didn't get into the chemistry breakdown in this video. There are lots of similar videos to this on YouTube. This is a pretty classic chemistry class experiment. So there are plenty of channels and plenty of videos that really go into the chemistry behind this. I wanted to make a video more so for the Gymshock ASMR community, just showing step by step exactly what to do and not necessarily muddying it down with all of the chemistry. I can certainly do that. If that is something anyone's interested in, I could write it out in the description or make another video about it. Just let me know down in the comments below. And because I know someone will probably ask, yes, you can just buy sodium carbonate, which is washing soda, and not have to bake your baking soda. The reason I do it this way is twofold. One, I was always taught this way based on chemistry and learning about the chemical reactions that happen. And two, washing soda contains sodium carbonate and water, and it can also sometimes contain some fragrance, and that can sort of muddy up the experiment. I'm sure there are some videos out there on YouTube that use washing soda to do this experiment that you could follow to see the measurements that you would need to do or need to use to do this. But I just don't do it this way. Regardless, this is so inexpensive to do. I mean, you can buy both of these ingredients at the dollar store, and as long as you have access to water and the other cheap materials that I showed in this video, you can do this experiment. And it only makes a small amount, but like I said, you can make larger quantities, or what I do is I just run a small batch or two every time I'm reforming or dyeing chalk, and I just collect it over time. And I've been able to collect a fair amount, over the past year or so of doing this. And it all adds up, and it's significantly cheaper than buying boxes of chalk over and over again. Let me know if you try this and tag me in the comments.